Hello, Ray Phoenix here. Welcome to Let's Play Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage Part 13. Come across this door here that's magically sealed somehow. The only way we could possibly break this magical seal is if we have 8 orbs, which I'm pretty sure we have way more than 8 orbs. Yeah, last time we checked, we had like 34 orbs. I've been collecting pretty much every orb we could possibly get in the game up to this point. And all the gems, too. Almost every gem in this game's been collected up to this point. So we're going to the Magma Cone. A level with a name that sounds like could have been something at an ice cream shop, like an ice cream flavor perhaps, or an ice cream cone variant that you can find at a mom and pop ice cream shop. This level feels like it was just an expansion of the Fractured Hills level. We come across all the same creatures we saw in the Fractured Hills level, only it's volcanic themed this time around. Oh wait, even Fractured Hills had some volcanic stuff in it too, so this level seems like it was just a direct, like when they were making levels, they thought, which one are we going to pick? Is it going to be this one or this one? What level are we going to choose? And then they probably thought, let's just throw both of them in there. This level is somewhat reminiscent of Spyro 1 because it involves jumping from off high cliffs, trying to glide around with precise gliding and finding those precise platforms, land plateaus where you can find the specific gems. You run around a lot trying to look for every measly little gem. This level is also slightly reminiscent of Zephyr because there's also some of that too in Zephyr. It's like this game's already becoming nostalgic for itself, for the back in the good old days when we were playing in the Zephyr level, which is only like 3 levels ago. Almost anything could be considered retro in this day and age. Retro is really just a state of mind. Almost anything could be considered retro. Some people can have like very broad definitions of what's retro, and some people have very broad definitions of what's considered vintage or modern. Like, my mom's boyfriend considers movies that came out 14 years ago to be new movies, and yet he considers video games that came out over 20 years ago to be modern and current. So I guess he kind of has like a sense of like, oh, people that think that old movies are like made in the 1940s or so. I remember I got a question about that once where it was like, oh, do you prefer new films or old films? And I said, well, what's your definition of new films or old films? Well, one person could be considered to be a classic film, could be considered, modern by someone else's standards. I don't consider movies made 14 years ago to be new, but apparently a lot of people seem to think they are new. He also considered Star Wars Episode 2 to be just as modern as the Disney Star Wars movies, which is something that I bet a lot of prequel fans don't like him comparing. You don't always like it when you compare something really good to something that's not so good. That's why it's not really a fair comparison to compare a classic game like Spyro to Ripto's Rage. It's like some of those later Spyro games that came out during Spyro's Dark Age and later. Kind of like the Legend of Spyro series. A lot of people don't seem to like those as much, or even Spyro 4, people don't like comparing it to that because people say Spyro 4, is garbage or not that good of a game. Or you just fry that bottle that has dynamite stuff. Or it would stick dynamite to a bottle. We've seen that quite a lot in this game, actually. You can actually come across this all the time. We saw a lot of them in the Scorch level, and they're still here in Magma Cone. The music in this level also is a little bit like the music that was used in the Idle Springs level. It sounds like it was sung by the same, not Idle Springs, sorry, it was the Colossus. It was sung by the same person that sang the music in the Colossus level. Probably because it was the only person that get to sing the music. I think Stuart Copeland started to get kind of lazy by the time we got to this part of the game. It's almost like he really invested so much of his musical talents on the beginning of the game and in the last world of the game, but by this point in time, he probably didn't make the songs in order, and by the time we got to this level, he was probably starting to feel kind of like, drained by all the music, like a creativity drain, or what do you call it, a creative burnout is what Mike Judge, I think, referred to it as, with Beavis and Butthead, something like that. That's probably why he reused some of the music in this level. Well, not this level, but the Fractured Hills music had the same music as the Idle Springs level. Those two levels have the exact same music. And this level sounds kind of like Colossus, because it sounds like it's sung by the same person. It has somewhat of a similar, a lot of songs in this game are structured. So then again, a lot of video games in general that have multiple different pieces of music often have the same structure. I noticed that a lot in Spyro 1. There was a level in Spyro 1 that sounded pretty much just the same as the end credits music, but it was played with a different instrument, like a different digital instrument, whatever you want to call it, and had a slightly different tempo or something like that. I don't know, I never studied any of this stuff before, so I have no idea what it's like to make music. He's obviously a much better composer than I'd ever be, because I know absolutely nothing about composing music. It's the one skill that I always wish I had, but I don't have that skill. I never bothered to try to acquire it because I know it's impossible. It would be like a chasing Amy type situation where you try to go after something, even though something you know you can never have. You can never realistically have this. And oh look, it's that greedy bear money bags again. It's gonna make us pay up our life savings again. Also we can satisfy his stupid fantasy. Surprised we could have another solid gold toilet in his house or something like that. Or a solid gold bathtub. Or possibly a bathtub that you don't want to go into because it has so many platinum diamonds embedded into it. Oh yeah, of course I'm your best customer. Well, because I'm probably the only customer it gets. I'm the only person that's trying to save Avalar right now, and Moneybags only ever seems to profit off people that are trying to save Avalar. I wonder what Avalar's population is like. If there were more heroes like Spyro and Avalar, they would probably try to do the same thing as me. So it's like, why do they assume Spyro's the only hero? Why do we assume Spider-Man was the only real hero who could save the world in that Spider-Man game from 2000 on the PS1? Spider-Man makes it seem like he's the only superhero that exists in New York City, and we know from playing that game that other Marvel heroes do exist in that same version of New York City. It's not like in those Spider-Man movies where Spider-Man's the only superhero that exists in his universe, and there's absolutely no one else to help him out with. You know, it's not the case. I mean, not even then, since when did Spider-Man ever try to save the world? Spider-Man never really tried to save the world or even save his city. He mostly just saved the ones he loved and cared about from petty villains that are considered too petty for the Avengers to deal with. Sometimes wonder how Spider-Man would be against villains like Ripto in this game. I can imagine the villains in PS1 games I played a lot, like Ripto from Ape Escape. And Spectre from, well, yeah, Ripto from Spectre from Ape Escape, Ripto from Spyro, Dr. Neo Cortex of Crash Bandicoot, and even Doc Ock from that PS1 Spider-Man game would come together and they would form some kind of plot, and all the PS1 heroes have to team up together so they get to fight this villain team. They should make I would love to see a crossover like that, actually. It involves like things that you wouldn't really expect. Like, you'd expect Doc Ock, a classic comic book villain, to team up with some super villain like Dr. Neo Cortex or Ripto or Spectre or something like that. Then again, I mean, it wouldn't be the most ridiculous crossover ever. Like, there was that one time King of the Hill crossed over with Silver Surfer. If a crossover like that could happen, then why not this?
Things were getting a little too hot.
I don't think there really. And even then, George Lopez once appeared on Dora. One thing I should appear on Dora, but he appeared in a lot. What was for Lost Media for the longest time. A bumper involving him meeting Dora to promote his show. So if a crossover like that can happen, then why not a crossover like this? The world of crossovers is quite chaotic. It's complete total crossover chaos. I have a whole series based around that called Phoenixverse Crossover. It's like all the Phoenixverse characters team up with each other to take on some sort of villain or something like that.
Well, you would be if those nasty lava monsters hadn't stolen our heads.
I think we killed enough enemies now so we could get this. So we could get this flying thingamajig now, so we could fly around and and Spyro could somehow eat bits of mouth. Well, he doesn't eat it, he just puts it in his mouth. Somehow it doesn't burn his mouth. Well, he's a dragon, and he breathes fire, so I guess it wouldn't burn his mouth then, because his mouth probably gets burned all the time. His mouth is probably immune to burns because of his flame breath, and he can put these things in his mouth and he can spit them back out at those enemies, those lava lizards, I think that's what he called them. What if they have anything to do with those lava lizards we saw in the Skelos Badlands level that were trying to eat someone? Remember we did that? Oh yeah, those were the good old days when we did that. We did Skelos Badlands. We'll never see the likes of Skelos Badlands ever again, simply because I 100% completed it, so there's no reason to go back to that level. Apparently Spyro did go back to that level in the last Spyro game that was set in the original continuity. It was, I forget what it was called, it was on the Nintendo DS, and apparently it didn't do very well, which is why they ultimately canceled the original Spyro series. Which some people say that was a big mistake, but then again, Spyro wasn't really that great in that era of history anyways. At least this is more original than just simply flying through frickin' rings like what we do in those speedway levels. Because, well, what's more fun than flying through the frickin' rings? Probably spitting these bits of lava, these lava particles, whatever you call them, those lava lizards. If they're lava lizards, they can live near lava. Why would their own lava kill them anyways? What kind of logic is that? This game is filled with BS logic. Then again, almost every video game ever made has logic that should never work. That would never really work. Like, how could Spyro just instantly fly? How could a dragonfly? How could a dragon even exist at all? And yet Sparks, the dragonfly, seems to follow him all the time, and Sparks had died several times over. I assume this game is set over the course of like several days, and dragonflies apparently only live for like 24 hours. That would mean that Spyro 4 must have been set over the course of one full 24-hour day. I wonder if there'll ever be a Year of the Dragonfly. People often mistakenly call that game Year of the Dragonfly. Probably getting it mixed up with Year of the Dragon and Enter the Dragonfly. That's probably why some people misreported that Spyro 4 got a release on the PS1. If it did get released on the PS1, then Spyro would definitely fall into that category of game franchises that have 4 or more installments on the same system they debuted on. But no, Spyro doesn't count for that. There are only 3 Spyro games for the PS1 that exist that I know of and that I'm going to take into account for this. There's only one more lava lizard left, and of course we're going to get the same reward we always get for this. Another orb. I wonder how many orbs they intended for you to get at this point. Probably not. If you needed only 8 orbs to get through that door, they probably didn't intend for you to get very many orbs as you played through the game. Well, because we do this the first time around, you're probably not expected to know much as to where orbs are, where they're located, how we're going to find them. Okay, so I did have 34 orbs before, now I have 35 orbs. That's still more than half of the orbs in the game. I think there's 64 orbs in this entire game, if I remember correctly. And Spyro needs all of them if he wants to go back to Dragon Shores, which is the reason why he got himself into this mess in the first place. He just wanted a vacation and got himself into this mess. This almost seems like anti-vacation propaganda, making it seem like, oh, don't go on vacation because something like this could happen. But then again, a lot of kids and just gamers in general like playing stuff like this. It's actually giving them more of an incentive to want to go on vacation then. I think there's a mini-game here. This mini-game is going to give us 2 orbs. It's hidden inside the magma cone. Plus, it's called magma cones. Of course, it's going to have a big magma cone in it. We just have to do like Spyro 1 style, like we have to glide all the way around. And there we go, we found it. There's more of these purple gems here. These dark purple gems. There's supposedly cheat codes in this game that can make Spyro turn different colors. I actually got some of them to work once. There's one that could turn Spyro black. There's one that turned Spyro blue, so he looks like how he did in one of the demos for this game. Or maybe it was just a TV I had back then. Pretty sure Spyro looks kind of bluish in some of the early PS1, early Spyro 1 demos. And then I remember there was one I found that said it was submitted by a guy named Batman, implying that Batman likes to play Spyro. I'm sure Batman loves playing Spyro in his free time when he's not busy saving Gotham City. He doesn't like playing Spyro. I think Nintendo Capri Sun could be secretly a fan of Spyro. He only mentioned him once in his Conker's Bad Fur Day Let's Play. And he also had a Spyro plushie in his bedroom as seen in one of his videos. It was called, I remember it was like that video made of like a blog video made of November 2003 stuff where he's just dancing around to some stupid song. And then he picks up Spyro and starts dancing around with Spyro. And then someone even asked him, is he going to do those Let's Plays of the Spyro games? Well, he's probably not at this point because Spyro is not Nintendo. So I'm going to do it for him. I also want to do a similar thing with Star Wars Jedi Starfighter. Super Vader Man hasn't made any Let's Plays in years, and he said he was going to do Star Wars. I'm not sure he said so, but I know he did do a Let's Play of the original Star Wars Starfighter, and to this day, he still hasn't done Jedi Starfighter yet. So that's where I come in. I'm going to do that for him. Just saved him a lot of work. There we go, we got ourselves another orb.
Give you another orb if you can beat me again.
Give me another orb. Yeah, he says it right from the beginning. But we already know that. Everyone already knows that, right?
Ready when you are.
This time we have to get 15 of the crystals. These crystals look like those talismans we got in the Crystal Glacier level. They don't call them talismans. They call them crystals. Yeah, dear dragon, take this crystal. Yeah, dragon, take this crystal. I don't really see any people like that anymore. I sound like Columbo in this game. We don't really come across any more people like that, so like that. We just mostly see them in the autumn plains. This is mostly just a racing game, pretty much. Not like a game where you drive a car. So we're just trying to run over to where the crystals are and collecting them before Hunter does. There actually is a way you could cheese this, where you just stay in front of where Hunter is, and you can stop Hunter from grabbing them. And if you're really good at that, pulling off that trick, I'm obviously not, but if you're really good at pulling off that trick, you can definitely catch all the gems, all the crystals before Hunter does, and you could easily win this easy. Of course, I'm not good at this tactic, so I'm probably going to fail at this. So look at that, he already has, beat him by a thin margin.
Good. I'm going to have to.
You're really good. Yeah, well, Hunter is obviously really good too.
For now, take
He's a
this
cheetah,
away.
of course, so he's going to be very fast. I assume cheetahs are fast. And Spyro, oh, look at that. We got all 3 orbs from this level. We now have 37 orbs. We got all 3 of them. There's only 10 gems remaining in this level. I wonder where those 10 remaining gems are. This is just the Spyro series being Spyro. Because, you know, Spyro loves to put gems in places where you never think to look. I've heard of people play these games for like 10 or more years and they just explored around trying to look for where those hidden gems could be, and then eventually they find them and it's like, how did I not see that before? It's in such an obvious place. Tells you not to get a level already thoroughly scanned at the beginning of the level, so I know for sure it's not there. It's probably back in the lava volcanic segment of this level. It's probably where it's hiding. I know the music is not as original as this in other levels of this game, but this music is still really good. Spyro really did have some of the best music for its time. I actually like the soundtrack in this game more than the soundtrack in the first game. And people often praise the first Spyro for having the best soundtrack of the Spyro franchise. One odd person said Spyro 4 had the best soundtrack. Yeah, Spyro 4 is a pretty good soundtrack too. That's one of the few things that was good about Spyro 4 was the soundtrack. And there we go, there's that last gold gem. I'm gonna call them gold gems for the sake of it. Magma cone complete. Yep, this level is, I wasn't sure if it was possible to get this level 100% complete or not, but it is. Sammy's Shady Oasis is the only other level in Autumn Plains that's not possible to get 100% complete as of now. We'll have to go to the Winter Tundra first. But before we do that, we have to play Shady Oasis so we could get the talisman from that level so we could fight the boss for this world so we could go to Winter Tundra. You already saw Winter Tundra a little bit in one of the cutscenes where it shows Ripto's first contact with Avalar, where apparently Ripto first entered through the Winter Tundra. And the level's clear. It's going to show us this little segment, this little like cutscene or whatever it is, this little comedy segment. They're jumping around and stuff. Yeah, but that guy pretty much just got killed. Yeah, people do get killed in these Spyro games. Those are dark Spyros. There are like 5 Spyros being dark. But apparently it is. And that's the same sense of humor these people are later going to contribute to the Ratchet & Clank series. This is Ray Phoenix signing out.